Hi there. It's been a while since I posted, so I thought I should check in. Happy New Year. My name is Julie, and I like to talk about spiritual stuff. Let's see. I think I've really been focused on family, a lot of family things going on. That was keeping me from posting, but also, I've been sort of resting my nervous system after a bunch of challenges that I faced, which were actually not my challenges, they were my loved ones' challenges that I was assisting with. But there's something about me getting to a deeper level of, compassion and acceptance for other people's struggles, right? Because there's this part of me, of course, I don't want to see people struggling. And especially when I know what they could do to make that struggle stop. And then, but they won't listen, they don't, it's not my place, and all kinds of reasons, and I'm not saying I know everything and I can solve everything, but I can solve shadows. I can untangle energy that creates a looping pattern that is disempowering and self-sabotaging and causing depression and anxiety. But I can only assist someone to do that if they've asked me to and if they're willing to do it. And so a lot of the things that I've been assisting with were not necessarily maybe ongoing patterns for the others, but I hadn't been in a position to kind of be overwhelmed by it until a bunch of people needed me at once. And then I just started to feel like, oh, I would love to solve these issues for these people because I can't really keep up with helping everyone at once. But I can't do it for them, And that's just, it is what it is. So that's okay, there's definitely a part of me that has already worked through this on other layers, but this is just a deeper layer of this for me. Because I can remember getting to an understanding about it, which is that, there's divine orchestration, and that everything that I've been through, I wouldn't trade any of it, right? Because I became this version of myself as a result of being gone through those experiences. And I really love myself. This version of myself was hard earned, but even if it wasn't, I just feel like she's lovable, So there is this need for me to go to a deeper level of acceptance for people's struggles when they're having them, Like, I'm not the rescuer, I'm not the hero. And if I'm, assisting somebody else who's struggling, then I just do that within my resources, within what I'm capable of, And the rest is going to be left to God. So that's where I'm at lately. I'm tired. I am tired. Like my nervous system kind of still wants to rest a little and kind of have a day of chill where I don't have to do anything for anyone else. Been looking for that day. It might be tomorrow. We'll see. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Kind of too tired to do anything else after that. Let's see. I feel like it was de-energizing to say that, but let's see if we can do a reading. I'm going to my app called Companion Julie at companionjulie.com, and one of the features of the app is 11 card pickers on the Oracle page. So I have digitized my cards. I'm actually in process of redoing my cards because most of them are handwritten and then scanned in. So I'm actually elaborating and making the cards more descriptive so that even people who don't have a lot of experience or aren't trusting their intuition yet can use these card pickers. For now, they're just the handwritten cards, but eventually it'll be upgraded. I'm still working on redoing the decks. Okay. Heart of the matter, Artemis, influencing on a practical level, North Node, influencing on emotional level, swindle, opportunity, natal chart experience, challenging factor, Achilles, and balance out, melancholia. I know exactly what this is. This is talking about when you're dealing with other people who are actually manipulating you through the emotional body, right? It's like if I'm helping people who are literally eliciting my sympathy as some sort of like currency. That's the word. Um, that's a swindling, right? That's a manipulation, and it's saying that this is an experience that you meant to have. So I'm reading for you. So even though this may apply to me, I'll take that application later. I'm going to get into the mode where I can channel the message. So I'm going to read as if it's for you. Okay. So you may be assisting someone or many people, and this is a reading that says this is part of the experiences that you wanted to have. So there's an opportunity in this experience, in that you are being presented with a piece of information that helps you towards your life purpose. And it is something that you may not realize until you deal with the fact that you're being distracted by some manipulation on your emotional body. This is what you would say is one of your weaknesses, or maybe even your only weakness. It's like being exposed to you right now because we have Achilles as the challenging factor. Balance out, melancholia. You may feel really down and out by this, right? Because especially if emotions are being kind of played in you, if like sympathy is kind of trying to be drawn out of you by someone or a situation that you're witnessing, this experience of that is something that is asking to be balanced out. So you look for the pattern in it, and then you zero point the energy of the pattern. So acknowledging the pattern, validating the pattern and why you have it, why you've been reacting the way you have. Accept that here you are needing to balance it out and be present with what it feels like. So in dysfunctional homes where the relationships have weaponized emotions or disallowed emotions, this is something that can happen where the emotions are now used as a manipulation anchor or tactic. So you can be susceptible to that if you grew up that way. If somebody could always get you to do what they wanted by showing their suffering, or maybe they even act incompetent when they are competent to do it, but they just want you to do it for them. And this is, some people are not able to manage their own emotions and are lacking self-esteem. And the way that they get that is if they can get other people to do things for them, or to care about them, or to think this or that. It makes them feel like they're important enough. And of course, this is an unhealthy, dysfunctional pattern, but when someone has learned to cope that way, it's important that you're aware of that people can be coping that way, because if you're not aware of that, then you won't know that you may have a weakness to that. And as long as you're aware of your weakness, then you can make better choices about how to manage those type situations by being aware of all the factors. It's important to put ourselves in the equation of, so if we're helping somebody out, it's like, how much can I handle? When do I have to say no? Right? When I'm helping all of these people who need my help at once, there is like a line, right, that I've had to say, like, hey, I can't handle that. Hey, I need you guys to do that because I've done this, this, and this. And there can be a tendency to not put up those boundaries, which are very important. And some people are just programmed to take. because they never knew that they could give it to themselves. So they don't have an end to the amount they will take. All right, is there anything else here? And it's interesting because here there's other people that are very aware of what they're taking and that don't want to inconvenience you and that will go out of their way to make sure that they're not being at trouble. Now those people have often grown up in the same type of homes, but their way of coping with it is different. Whereas they don't want to be a burden and they don't want to be an inconvenience, and it's really the same core wound, but it can look that way as well. So you might be more that type person while the people around you might be more like takers. Okay, your environment, victimized, how this affects you, 1 year. An underlying issue, denying of pressing truth or feeling. Change is needed, 1 month. What helps? This limits you at this time. What hinders? 6 months. Interesting. So it looks like this has been affecting you for a while. Within the last month, it's been getting louder. And if you were to let this go on longer, it's going to be a problem for you. It is limiting you at this time, but that's actually helpful. It's like if you don't have the energy to keep doing what you've been doing, it's for a reason. It's because this pattern needs to be addressed. And the thing is, when you deal with this pattern within yourself, you'll be in a better position to actually assert your boundaries, to stick up for yourself, to put yourself in the equation and consider, like, okay, well, I'm not capable of doing that for you. This is interesting, yeah. Okay. Because when we look at the environment as victimized, as this reading says, it's like there is a victimization happening, and you may not even realize that that's what's happening. And maybe you don't even think of yourself as a victim, but your emotional body is being victimized, right? You're being manipulated in some way through the emotional body. An underlying issue, denial of pressing truth or feeling. You kind of feel like something's off. But the way you've been coping with this is through denial. I don't know about you, but I just got a lot of relief inside my energy body when I said that. Like there's some part of me that felt a relief. So maybe this is part of the reading, right? There's some part of you that feels relief to acknowledge that, to stop denying it. Because it puts you one step closer to being able to handle it how it needs to be handled. If we go to the advice deck, supportive resources, Aquarius. There's a new, innovative, humanitarian, win-win-win way to handle this. Change is needed, loops. Like, get out of the loops. Stop recreating and participating in the pattern. Add more skills assessment. So when you're looking at your weaknesses, also look at your strengths. Like, that's important too. And one time I made a list of all my strengths and all my weaknesses. And then the task was to name ways that my weaknesses were strengths and vice versa. And I got to tell you, that was a beautiful exercise to do because for every weakness I had, I could see the strength in it as well. And for every strength I had, I could see the weakness in it as well. That was so eye-opening and so important for me to do. And so it's saying like, yeah, look at some things about your skills. What to surrender? Slow down. Hold on, I got a cough. Slow down. What to surrender? Slow down. Maybe you think like it's just a matter of taking a break and then you can get back to it. But this is saying, no. You're being stopped in your tracks because this is a pattern to look at. Opportunity, 12th house. You can't see the opportunity. Although one thing that might be present is a hidden enemy. Like there could be someone that is literally aware of their manipulation. You know, some people can be manipulative in this way without being aware that they're doing it, and some are aware that they're doing it. There's something here to see that you haven't seen yet and that you wouldn't think to see. Action to take, creative expression. So that's a difficult moment when you have to express to somebody that you've been helping for a long time, or that you've been letting manipulate you for a long time, that you're not willing to do that for them anymore. It's like, what are you going to be able to say to make sure that you honor yourself next time you're asked? How are you going to phrase that? What are you going to say? It's saying, like, get creative about this, but think about it ahead of time so that you're prepared to assert your boundary. Now, I don't necessarily think you have to say, well, I know you've been manipulating me through my emotions, so I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not necessarily of the mind that that's the appropriate response. If it is for you, then you know that. But, like, I feel like there's something where it's like, be creative so that you can create a win-win-win. So instead of like calling someone out in a shamey way, maybe it's recognizing a pattern, calling the pattern out as if it's a pattern, not, pinning it on that person, and then like explaining to them why you want to like raise your standards on yourself, and then that invites them to raise their standards on themselves if they want, right? Yeah. It says be humble. So you may start to feel like, well, I know something you don't, or like, ah ha ha, you can't fool me anymore because I know what you're doing. This is saying be humble. This is somewhere you're going to be an example of something to someone here. And you have an opportunity to be a good example of something. So what are you going to be an example of? I'm going to go to the relationships deck. And that's how we'll close this, is we'll get some cards from the relationship deck, because it will let us know how to deal in a more fair way with another person. Most important, the forgiveness formula. Accept how you feel first. So in knowing this, you feel a way. Accept that that's how you feel. Be with your feeling, and then accept how they may feel. Because somebody who does this, they're lacking in something, right? They don't feel good enough for themselves. They don't think they can handle it for themselves. They don't think they can soothe or regulate their own emotions. So that's why they're trying to get that need met. Consider, fill up your own cup. Give yourself what you need or want. Give only from the overflow. That can be a rule that you make for yourself. It's like, I can't endlessly give to this person. So I know that I'm only going to give when my cup is overflowing, because I've filled it up. And definitely make sure that you're not giving to this person in order to try and fill up your own cup, meaning to get appreciation or praise, or to think of yourself as better or more capable. What is helpful? To be in service, to give from your overflow. So it's not saying even dry up the well. It is literally saying, like, just make sure you're in the equation. Just make sure you're taking care of you. Because here we have someone who, yes, is not coping in a way that's healthy, but you're being called up and invited to sort of be an example to them of what is potential and what's possible for upgrading our behaviors when we upgrade our standards on how we want to relate with each other in a more fair manner. So it would be helpful if you would consider being in service when you do have an overflow to give from. Discern. Communicate using I statements. So if you tell the person that, like, they're manipulating you, well, if you say you're manipulating me, that's an accusation. And this also will harm the communication between you. But if instead you said, I feel too tired, I feel worn out, I feel like this is too much, I need a break. I statements, they can't argue with those. That's you considering you and bringing you into the situation. Possibly they are showing you who they are right now. So consider that however they're being, that's who they are right now, and they're showing it to you. So if they're showing you that they are somebody who can't regulate their own emotions and is so desperate to get the recognition or help from outside of themselves, That's who they are right now. So that means they probably don't have anything to give you if you're looking for them to understand you, you know? Allow for the other. Allow them to dislike you in peace. So, some others may not like it when you put a boundary up. And even if you're willing to be in service, they may turn against you because of it. And it's okay to allow them to dislike you in peace. You know, when you're being in service, your service could be as simple as just being the example of taking the high road without accusing them, calling them out, or trying to shame them. You know? So, yeah, if there was part of you that was feeling like there was something off within a relationship where you found yourself being of service to another, or Artemis, or being anything to another person. I forgot how I started that sentence, so I can't finish it. This reading, is saying that you're given an opportunity to notice this pattern that you're noticing from within yourself, the pattern of you participating in this dynamic, and then healing that within you to see a bigger picture, more clear, and then creatively, kindly, humbly asserting a boundary where needed. You know, if someone's willing to take, you need to know where you're comfortable with them taking and where you're not. So you have to let them know that. Like, this is what I will be okay with and what I'm not okay with. You're doing well by persevering. And I think that that's the thing, is like, you've been persevering with this and you would be willing to persevere with this much longer. But what it's pointing out is, no, there's a pattern there. So this reading is for people who kind of know something's off in a situation that feels like unbalanced giving. Add more acceptance. And that means acceptance for yourself and where you're at. Meaning, like, I accept that here I am at this age and this time and this part of my life needing to heal this in myself. Too much go outside. Now, if you're in a position where you're trying to talk to other people and kind of see what their opinions are, asking for too much advice, asking over and over again, it's kind of saying, no, you probably want to make sure you go inward a little bit more rather than outside, looking outside of yourself. Give to self connection. And that going inward is like checking in with yourself on, how do you feel about this? Like, what has been going on? What have you been ignoring? Something that felt a little off? Have you been ignoring the fact that you haven't been considered and nobody's poured back into you? Give away, forgive self. So, forgiving yourself for being a participant in this pattern, because, if you're just realizing this pattern and it's been going on for your whole life, it could be a hard pill to swallow, but this is saying, like, you definitely want to forgive this for yourself. And a solution is ultimately looking at your self-esteem, because if you hold yourself in high regard, then you won't let yourself participate in an equation where you're being drained, essentially, and manipulated for your emotions, through your emotions, I should say. Okay. Okay, that's the reading. So I hope this helps. Thank you for watching. See you next time.